Welcome, dear viewers, to Whispers of Turkish Stars, the corner of the internet where we trace the soft footprints of stories that never shout, yet leave a mark. If your heart beats a little faster for revelations tucked between the lines and truths that arrive on a whisper, you're in the right place. Tap subscribe, say hello in the comments, and remember, those who click join are the ones who help keep these lights on and these tales alive. Now, take a breath with me and step into a story where film, memory, and an unspoken question linger in the air like a half-finished love song. For weeks, social feeds hummed with speculation, but nothing felt as electric as the murmur that suddenly seemed to be everywhere at once. Barış Baktaş had personally reached out to invite Yağmur Yüksel to anchor his next romantic project. This wasn't some glitzy press rollout or a careless leak. It was passed quietly through trusted lips, the kind of news that drifts from closed-door meetings to carefully guarded group chats until it becomes too alive to ignore. The very idea carried the heartbeat of nostalgia. More than 10 years have gone by since the series that cemented their names in the collective memory. Back then, their on-screen electricity wasn't merely convincing, it was unsettlingly real, as if the camera captured more than it should. The world didn't just follow their characters, audiences inhaled the breath between their pauses, held the silence in their glances. So when talk of a reunion returned, it felt like someone had pulled a beloved book from the shelf and thumbed to a page everyone knows by heart, only to wonder if the words might read differently now. Insiders described the new project as a love story about reconnection. Two souls pulled apart by time and choices, finding themselves face to face with everything they once were, and everything they might still be. Those close to the process insisted it wasn't passive approval from Barış. He actively selected Yağmur. He believed only she could carry the heartbeat of a woman who yearns for a second try while guarding herself against the ache of what happened before. It was thoughtful, intentional, and undeniably personal. And yet, just when it felt like the old magic might be summoned again, the storyline twisted. When Yağmur Yüksel received the formal offer, most expected a quick, enthusiastic yes. What could be more natural than two acclaimed stars stepping under the same light again? Instead, her answer arrived with a quiet composure, weighted by time and perspective. Those close to her say she sent a message that held both tenderness and resolve, something along the lines of, "Not every chapter begs to be rewritten, some memories deserve the dignity of remaining whole." The phrase drifted across the industry like a low, rumbling cloud. Why pass on a project that seemed destined to dominate the conversation and possibly sweep the world? Was it a purely artistic decision, or was she protecting something infinitely more delicate, a private thread that shouldn't be tugged in public? Before we push on, a pause for you, the thoughtful community of Whispers of Turkish Stars. Would you have wanted this reunion? Tell us what your heart says below. And if you enjoy these gentle excavations of celebrity history and feeling, remember that pressing the join button lets us bring more of these stories to you, without haste and without noise. With the news out, theories multiplied. Some fans argued that Yağmur was wisely resisting the trap of repetition, that quiet dread artists often carry, the fear of being boxed into one impossibly bright role. Others wondered if their rapport was so organic, so unguarded, that trying to ignite it again might blur the fragile line between a performance and whatever had lingered beneath it. A confidant of the actress offered a fragment of insight. She thinks the world of him, but there are certain feelings you honor by not touching them. You don't reopen everything just because the door isn't locked. Meanwhile, attention turned to Barış Baktaş. During an interview a few days later, he was pressed about the possibility of collaborating with her again, if the timing or the circumstances were different. He paused, the full kind of quiet that delivers its own message, and then answered with a softness that melted the internet in minutes. He'd welcome it, he said, because what they once created wasn't the sort of thing you replicate on command, but he added that every decision deserves respect, and he meant it. Just one thought, spoken without edge, and suddenly timelines shifted. Old clips resurfaced like waves returning to an old shore. Devoted edits flooded the platforms, reopening the emotional floodgates. Across countries and languages, voices rose to insist their synergy hadn't been merely crafted, it felt like something the camera could not choreograph away. One comment snagged thousands of likes. Some partnerships don't need to act, they just remember what they were capable of. Behind the curtain, sources said that before Yağmur settled on her final no, Barış reached out to her directly. What passed between them, they say, was warm and sincere, an acknowledgement of their shared past and the boundaries that protect it. He reportedly told her that it wasn't about winding the clock backward, but allowing a new story to unfold for who they had each become. It wasn't nostalgia in a costume, it was about meeting again as two artists shaped by time. She listened. And then, with her trademark calm, she gave him an answer that felt like a handwritten note sealed with care. When you touch something beautiful too many times, you risk thinning it. She'd rather let it stay whole, unsmudged by attempts to recapture a moment born of its time. The words sank into fans like the last line of a sad song, one you replay even though it aches. Producers who had long waited for this pairing again confided a reluctant truth. When those two share a frame, the lens stops directing and starts observing. The machine steps aside. It becomes witness. And witnesses carry a responsibility. That acknowledgement didn't erase their disappointment, but it cast the refusal in a light that felt honest. At a recent charity event, when a reporter asked Yağmur about her former co-star, she didn't deflect. She smiled gently and said she values him, and that the respect she holds won't evaporate with time. It wasn't an ending. It wasn't regret. If anything, it was gratitude as closure, a small bow to what had been and to what must remain untouched. Then, as the conversation seemed to quiet, something unexpected stirred the air again. During a press stop, someone asked Barış whether he imagined their professional paths crossing in the future. He didn't promise, and he didn't shut the door. He offered a careful smile and said life rearranges itself. He has learned never to pronounce anything impossible. He left it there, letting the audience finish the thought for him. What remains is hard to pin down, impossible to catalogue. It is the echo of a thing that once existed on screen and may have brushed the edges of something beyond it, not a romance we can confirm, but a current we cannot pretend not to feel. Perhaps the most magnetic stories are the ones that never resume, the ones that live in memory where they cannot be altered or reduced. Perhaps that's why we keep returning to them, not to coax them into being again, but to stand near what they meant. And maybe that is what this entire episode truly is, a lesson in reverence. For the art that changed the trajectory of two performers. For the audience that grew up with them and learned, in small ways, how to love and lose by watching them try. For the boundary between the spotlight and the heart, a border that is too easily erased by our hunger for more. There's a version of this story where she said yes, where the cameras rolled, where the first teaser dropped and every headline sang. In that version, we'd be talking about scenes and scripts, costumes and schedules. But this version asks for more of us. It asks us to sit with the ache of what might have been and to accept that respect, more than desire, is sometimes the bravest choice two people can make in public. So the rumor that set the internet on fire becomes something else by the end. A quiet affirmation that not all connections are meant to be reanimated in front of us. Some serve a different purpose, to remind us that the past can be kept intact, that art can be cherished without being dragged back into the market of expectation, and that two people can look at the same history and choose care over momentum. Thank you for spending this time with us at Whispers of Turkish Stars, where we don't just chase headlines, we follow heartlines. If this delicate journey moved you, leave a comment, subscribe for more of the stories that breathe beneath the surface, and consider pressing join to help us keep telling them with patience and grace. Until we meet again, stay curious, stay kind, and keep looking past the glare into the glow that remains.